One thing is certain about the historical Socrates. Even among those who knew him well, there were disagreements about what his beliefs and methods were. There were some who felt that he was undermining the democratic state, but there were definitely others who were threatened by Socrates' religious beliefs, his thought crimes. His accusers charged him with introducing new gods that had not been approved by the city. And there were rumors that Socrates himself was friendly with a clique of aristocrats the Spartans had put in charge of Athens, the 30 tyrants. Socrates does wrong because he does not believe in the gods in whom the city believes, but introduces other new spiritual or daimonic beings. He also does wrong by corrupting the young. When Socrates challenged Miletus in court, he modified his charge into an accusation of atheism in the modern sense, which Socrates easily refuted by affirming his belief in his daimonion. It was a sort of voice that came to him and advised him. However, it should not escape notice that Socrates never directly answers the charge that he believed in foreign gods. Socrates' own beliefs have been endlessly debated, and they could of course have changed during his long career. Everyone's usually does. There's no doubt that despite his claim to know only that he knew nothing, Socrates had strong beliefs about the divine. According to Xenophon, he held a belief that God arranges everything for the best. According to his more famous student Plato, when accused of believing that the sun and moon were made of stone and earth, Socrates threw the blame on his fellow philosopher Anaxagoras. These were Anaxagoras' ideas, not his. This evidence, in Aristophanes' comedic play The Clouds, strongly suggests that at least during the 420s BCE, Socrates himself was attracted to a teleological adaptation of the doctrine of Anaxagoras. This was considered by some to be tantamount to a belief in a new god, the divine mind or spirit, in Greek nous. This nous ordered all things for the best. Other sources report that Socrates was taught by a pupil of Anaxagoras named Archelaus. Anaxagoras' school, so to speak, his followers, played a major role in the formation of Socrates' reputation and his eventual condemnation. But there are some complexities here. In the text of the Phaedo, we actually find that Socrates was only drawn to Anaxagoras' materialist thought at first, and then he rejected it, precisely because it gave mind or nous no central teleological role in life or the universe. It's possible that Anaxagoras' thought wasn't religious enough. One interesting way to look at it is that it was because Socrates personally demanded of himself a higher conception of the divine that he did not reply directly to Miletus' charge that he believed in gods other than those in which the city believed. The Athenians repeatedly voted to punish the advocates of heterodox views with severe penalties, including death. This reactionary movement began with the outlawing of astronomy by the decree of Diopathes and the exile of Anaxagoras in the later 430s BCE. It culminated with the execution of Socrates. In the final analysis, it didn't matter whether Socrates had ever really been one of those subversive proto-scientists, the pre-Socratics, or even whether or not he believed in the supernatural, as he clearly did. He was punished because many thought he was an atheist in the Greek sense. This broad term included people who believed in new gods, in one god, or in no god at all. Plato's Socrates stands in contrast to the group of intellectuals called the Sophists. In Plato's eyes, the Sophists were teachers for hire who paraded pretend knowledge. Socrates, on the other hand, was interested in more searching and more fundamental questions. The Sophists promised outright to teach moral excellence, arete. This promise stands in stark contrast to the Socratic line of questioning about what makes virtue truly a virtue, or the good truly good. The ironic ignorance of Socrates likely hid unshakable convictions, that there is a concept of good which is not moral in the normal way that we understand the term, but it actually concerns every man who has a goal in life. This good can be in itself only good and is not in any way harmful. It has an essence which has to do with the core of personality, which is called a psyche, or soul. The striving for arete in the Socratic sense thus becomes a quest for knowledge and at the same time care for the soul. In Athens, compliance was measured by behavior, and Socrates almost certainly didn't neglect sacrifices or prayers. Socrates was a pious man in every sense, according to the evidence of both Plato and Xenophon. He made sacrifice, he greeted the rising sun with a prayer, and advised Xenophon to consult the Delphic oracle. The famous first scene of the Republic begins with Socrates going to participate in a procession to celebrate the arrival of a new deity to Athens, the Thracian goddess Bendis. The Phaedo ends with Socrates requiring the sacrifice of a cock to another newly introduced deity, Asclepius. It is certainly worth pondering that if the Athenians themselves could accept new gods, how could they accuse Socrates of impiety when he had only done the same? But honestly, people who have just suffered a debilitating and ignominious defeat are usually not the most gracious or self-aware. What drove Socrates to create this cloud of misunderstanding and fear among his fellow citizens? It probably was his unique phenomenon, which in modern times would probably be classed as pathological. It was a kind of voice, which in the most various situations commanded Socrates to halt, unexpectedly and compellingly. This voice made a normal civic life impossible. What was left for Socrates was his circle of pupils who were fascinated by him and his practice of questioning. Socrates was hated by a powerful group of adversaries with different motives. It is clear that at some level, political animosity lay behind the impiety charges against the philosopher. Some of the men he was rumored to have influenced were important political leaders. It is also possible that he could not legally be charged with the political crime of subverting democracy. Atheism was just a convenient pretext. It may be most accurate to call Socrates a free thinker. The public response to this trend of free thinking is summed up best in Euripides' Bacchae. The chorus tells us that the wise is not wisdom. The hero of the play, Pentheus, the sensible defender of a rational order, is drawn and forced to a bloody end by the irrational god Dionysus. All right, everybody, that's it. As always, there's so much more to talk about, especially when Socrates is involved. But thank you very much for watching. And if you liked this video or found it interesting or informative in any way, please do like and subscribe to the channel. Thank you guys again very much, and I'll see you in the next one. See you later.